Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another grooming podcast. How did that sound? Oh,
There you go.
Oh, wait.
So Katie doesn't have to do it auto.
today we're talking about certifications. It's really important to me. I'm Nathan Austin.
I'm Kat Graney.
I'm Kathleen Austin.
And I'm Juan Rivera.
And today, like I said, we're doing certifications today. And it's a subject I find really important. I think certifying is the bee's knees.
The bee's knees.
Well, I mean, let us maybe start with how's everybody's week been before we dive right in.
Oh, my week has been lovely.
Lovely. Well, we've had a lot of rain, so I don't know about other areas, but like here in California, we don't get a ton of rain. So I feel like when it's really rainy, we get a lot of cancellations, a lot of no-shows. People don't want to get their dogs clean only to go out and get dirty again.
What's the point?
I know. My dogs are just trashed.
Yeah, it's it's definitely a first world problem for us because we had an ADU built in our backyard, so wah, wah for us, I guess. But our whole yard was trashed, and now every time we potty the dogs, we have 6 dogs at the time, right
7.
now. Oh God, 7.
One's not ours.
And every time they run outside, it's just a fucking mud party. Mm-hmm. And it's either you shit and piss in the house or you shit and piss outside and you track mud all over the house. So it's just like a fucking fiasco 4 times a day.
Lose.
Yeah, good thing we got our son though. Our son's he's corralling the dogs with us and like wiping their feet off and stuff. So it hasn't been like totally terrible, but
Except for he's supposed to be the pooper scooper, and he doesn't go out and scoop
I know.
the poop right now because it's raining.
I step on shit every time I come over. So he's not doing a very good job.
Nobody look at me. I thought you were gonna say your house, and then you said mine, and I was like,
No,
oh,
yours.
No,
Yours.
I'm also so fucking tired of saying, but we need it though, right, guys? Yeah, we need it.
the rain.
It's
Yeah,
raining.
we
Oh,
need it.
I think
Oh,
once
we
you
need
turn like mid-30s, you're like, oh, good thing it's raining. We need it.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know, but I'm
fucking
getting tired of it.
though.
We've had too much rain lately.
I'm like,
Too
you know
much.
what? We're still in a drought, but
What a
Yeah.
Californian thing to say. Too much rain.
yeah.
Yeah, as we're in a drought. Kat, what were you
No,
gonna say?
I was gonna say the aqueducts are full right now, so
Are they?
Aqueducts are full, but what about my backyard?
it's also full.
The real important thing. No,
Of
it's
shit.
also full.
Who cares about everybody else?
Shit
What
and
about
mud.
mine?
Yeah, for $20 a week, he's lagging on his job.
Where's Bear? Kat's babysitting this cute little Pomeranian right now. So he's been roaming around. He's pretty cute. I guess we'll show you.
He's kind of cute.
We
but
normally don't bring dogs to this, but he's pretty cute. Look at
He's
him.
kind of cute, but he spends 90% of his day gyrating his hips on
And-
whatever he can find.
Yeah, and that's why he's here because my poor dogs at home need a break.
Look at him. He's like, not me.
Right, Bear?
Not me.
It's not my fault I'm horny.
The only reason he's not humping is because you're holding him.
He's like, no.
Ooh, ooh.
We also
so for
don't
you who
condone.
can't hear it, it's a little Pomeranian. That's gross.
He's really cute, though.
He's really cute, but we also don't condone shaving double-coated dogs. But that's what his mom wants.
So sorry.
Yeah.
So he's got some alopecia. Don't judge him.
It's not his fault. It's his
not
mom's.
his fault.
I'm just kidding.
So
Maybe that's why he's such a humper.
when it comes to master certifying, right? I mean, every one of us here is master certified, right?
Yes.
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 So I think it's more important, right? Because we have done it, so we're like, oh, it's
Passionate.
We're passionate about it, right?
Yep.
So what do you think what's a master groomer to you guys, right?
It just means that you've proven that you know certain things, you know structure, you know balance, you know where to set like patterns and stuff. That's what it's like, a proven knowledge.
Yeah, proven
Yeah,
that you
it's like a
can
baseline.
groom to
Yeah.
the breed standard,
Yeah.
that you can follow. Because I feel like it's not just like the schnauzers, right? Like obviously we were taught wrong at PetSmart in the beginning, but it was like from this point to this point to this point, and then like that was like, and there's the cut. But it's so much more complicated than that, because knowing like the dog's structure, knowing the standard, being able to feel the dog and know like it should have more lay back of shoulder or it should be tucked under more. So I'm going to do these corrective things to make the cut look closer to breed standard and cover up those flaws is where the difference is.
Well, it's so wild to me, like studying for the master certification, you learn so much more. And I learned how to actually pay attention to the breed standard and like read it and interpret it. Like before, it just all of it meant nothing to me because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And
It
as
is
you learn more,
wah,
it's
wah,
yeah.
wah. I
It's
read
actually
it
cool.
and like,
Yeah.
It's actually crazy how much it affects my everyday grooming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just regular pet grooms, not even breed cuts.
And I think one of the issues, at least I see a lot online, is people saying, I will never be a master groomer. I could never do that. I think it's way more attainable than people think.
I never
Right.
thought I would be a master groomer. Like
Yeah,
it was
me
always
neither.
after working with Yumiko, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be that good. I'm never going to be a master groomer.
No, but I think
And
most of
we
it
done did
comes
it.
down to like
We
an
done.
understanding of structure.
Yeah.
Right. Because, well, once you start to understand the structure, then when you are reading the breed standard, it makes sense. Where before, like I said before, it's like, wah, 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 and then you're like, I don't get this. But
Yeah.
then when you start reading it and it's like, this should be in this area, or this should be long to the withers, and then you're like, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Once it
now I
clicks,
understand.
It clicks.
I mean, every time I post something on social media that refers to being a master groomer or certifying, there's always people on there saying I'm not going to be able to do it.
Well, something else I think that we hear a lot is people that go like, oh, well, I don't have a lot of breed cuts, so it's not beneficial to me, or nobody cares, clients don't care, so why should I spend the time and the money?
I don't want to groom show dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's not necessarily, I mean, number one, when we first started doing it, I don't feel like we had a lot of breed cuts, so it wasn't like I'm doing it because I have all these breed cuts and I want to do better at it. I mean, obviously I wanted to do better at breed cuts, but it wasn't really about that.
Yeah.
And once I started gaining that knowledge, though, and then I started posting about it, like, oh, I learned how to do this at this seminar, then I started getting those in. Or even if I didn't have people that came in wanting breed cuts, I still feel like I was able to apply the things that I learned to my everyday pet grooms and make them look better.
Yeah, and it almost like helps you manifest purebred dogs, right? Like for me, like I didn't get a lot of purebred dogs until I started doing it the same way. Like you start posting it, just like you were saying. You start
If that's
posting
what you
it.
want, right? Because I know you guys said you guys
Yeah.
don't have a lot of breed cuts.
Yeah, what are you trying to say? That I'm not good at them?
No, but I
you're
do
not
think
manifesting
I do think it
power
depends
of
on
manifestation.
I do think it depends on what you're looking for,
Right,
right?
you're
Because like Kat has, once she started doing she got her Bichon and she started showing her Bichon, and then she started suddenly it's like a huge influx, and not even just show Bichons, because while she does do a lot of the show Bichons in our area, she just more and more clients are like, I want a Bichon cut. I want a Bichon cut. I want a Bichon cut. And not all of them are even Bichons or even look Bichon-y.
Well, I can't tell you how many people come into the salon and see Lumiere and they're like, I want that. And their dog's like a drop coated Yorkie or something. And I'm like, well,
All right.
Make the head really round.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I
do
want a
my
round
best.
head.
On the
Oh,
Yorkie.
but
And then, yeah.
They always go, I want the round head, but don't trim the ears short.
Oh,
my
yeah,
God.
always.
Shut the fuck up. You know?
That is impossible. If there are any pet parents listening, just so you know, it is impossible to do a Bichon head without cutting the ears into the head because they're supposed to disappear. You have
Also,
to cut the
I
ear hair.
apologize for cursing at you. I do not mean it. I love
We're
you.
very passionate.
Thank you
quite
for your
passionate.
money.
Yeah, thank you. But we're just letting you know. We're educating you.
Yeah.
But I mean, and same for me. I feel like once I started doing hand stripping and Scotties, it was just like one after the other. And once I started putting it out there that that's what I wanted, then I just started getting them more and more. Although I don't have that many well-bred Scotties that come to me.
Well, that's why you're
unfortunately.
breeding them now.
That's why I'm breeding them now. Although we do have a fantastic breeder in the area, but it seems like all of my clients get their dogs from out of state.
There's a surprising number of Scotty breeders that don't know what a Scotty should look like.
There's a lot of
all
breeders
breeds. Yeah, all
that don't know
breeders.
what their breed is.
I just feel
Yeah.
like they just don't. I just don't think they care.
But
I
even
think
when
they're
I see
for money.
when I see like a wonky Bichon come in, like I'm like that's a Bichon. But then when you see a wonky Scotty come in, you're like, what the heck? What happened?
Well, I like when you see a well-bred Bichon, they're like fucking adorable,
Yeah.
just incredibly cute.
Yeah.
And when you see a badly bred one, you're like, cute. It looks Bichon-y. Okay, yeah, but I do agree with you. When you see a badly bred Scotty, they're like extremely long, extremely tall,
No furnishings,
like
yeah.
no furnishings. Huge
like,
ears.
Yeah,
yeah,
they look-
ginormous
on the side of their
ears. Like
heads.
they just look like freaks of nature. I'm so sorry. They are cute. I do love my Scotties, but in comparison, it's not the same.
I feel like they have the tendency to go off really easily. Go off
Yes.
like if you don't know what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I also
unfortunate.
feel like a lot of pet parents are led the wrong direction by these so-called breeders, right? How many people are sold a dog where, they're like, this is a Bichon, and it's clearly not a Bichon. It may have Bichon in it, but it is not.
It's Bichon adjacent.
Okay. Also, how many? I mean, we're getting a little off topic, but just quickly, how many times have you guys heard somebody go, "I've heard there's no good breeders in California"? Or even America. I've had so many people. I've heard there's no good breeders in America. So I got my dog from like South Korea.
Hey, this South Korean breeder told me
My
there's no
6
good breeders where you're from.
And
so,
they sold
I wonder
me
why you said that.
so they said,
a
but they said they
6-month-old
had one.
puppy
That's good.
totally potty trained.
Whoa.
So sorry. That's totally
Tighten your
potty trained.
screw.
I was trying to like fidget with it. So sorry. Nobody see that. Anyway, moving on beyond the breeder rant. So sorry. So we were talking about you don't have to groom show dogs. I think we got off topic.
Just a little.
It's okay.
It's what we do.
Yeah.
That's why we have cards.
That was a Katie rant.
So
not
why
Also,
would you
not a
Masters-
Ronnie
Yeah, why
rant.
would you-
So master certifying also helps you see all that.
Yeah.
Right before before we started certification, I didn't know the difference between a pretty dog and a cute dog, but not the standard dog. And so it really opens your mind to a lot.
And
Well,
then it
that's-
gets you excited to
Yes.
continue learning and be like,
Yes.
oh my God, there's so much to learn. And then you get more and more excited as things start clicking and you just learn more and more and it just builds.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny because we often will get our like newer employees in, and obviously they think every dog is cute, which we do think every dog
Every
is
dog
cute.
is cute.
But we'll get
Every
a
dog
dog
is
on the table, and I'll start going over its confirmation of like, well, it's lacking here, it's lacking here. Maybe this is nice, but like this is bad or that is bad, and they're like, you're being so mean. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that the dog is like ugly or doesn't deserve to be loved, but I'm just letting you know that these are all the things that are like wrong or right with this dog, and it's important to know those things. And then after they've been working with us for a while, then they start to like see those things too, and they're like, I see the difference between this dog and this dog now.
Well, I think that like good breeding is almost like assisted survival of the fittest, right? Because like in the
Yeah.
wild, the dogs with the bad hips or the bad legs or something are not going to survive, and it's going to be the healthy ones, the fast ones, the what So
Yeah.
as a breeder, you're choosing the best of the best to continue.
Yeah, we're
Should
kind of like
be.
assisting
Should
natural
be.
selection.
Yeah.
I'm like,
But
I
also
wrote that
twisting
down
it a
because
bit,
that's
right?
hella funny. Assisted survival of the fittest. I saved that note for later. Freaking funny.
But people don't realize, the way the dog is built structurally also affects the longevity and the health of this dog, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely, yeah.
yes, we are, questioning their structure and stuff, right? And we're trying to improve and make it look better with a haircut, but in turn, that's going to be more harmful to the dog and its longevity in the long run. And
Yeah, it helps a tremendous amount. I also think like for training our people, if you're a master groomer out there and you're listening to this, I love training our people by picking apart dogs, right? I'll put a dog on the table. I'll bring one of my new, one of me and Katie's new apprentices, and we'll be like, okay, look at this dog. What is wrong with this dog? Normally, it's way easier to pick out things that are wrong, right? You're like, oh, this isn't right. This isn't right. I think the really challenging thing is putting a dog on the table and say, what is right about this dog?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, what do you like about this?
Right?
What's a good
It's
quality?
easy to see what's wrong because if you put a dog on the table and you see, oh man, it's way back, its rear is way high, and it's easy to see what's wrong because it draws your eye, right? If it doesn't draw your eye, usually it's either good or it's imbalanced with the rest. If it's out of balance and wrong, that's why you're looking at it. Right? You should just see the dog as a whole.
Well, and the thing is, right, every dog has flaws, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you just throw the dog out. Like with our show dogs, all of our show dogs have something about them that is a flaw and that we can improve upon, right? And so we don't just like, oh no, this dog's shoulders could be better. Goodbye. Like we don't just toss them out, right? So you do want to, you're right? Because like there are many good qualities about the dogs, and being able to pick out those things that are good and highlight the good things and then hide the bad things it's just as important.
What do you guys think? So if someone was asking you like, oh, why should I master certify? Like, what do you really think the best answer is to that? Because to me, it's often pretty hard to answer that question. Right?
I mean, for me, yes, I got all the knowledge, but it gave me the confidence to talk to customers or pet parents and like stand my ground and feel confident in what I'm telling them and like to know the why and everything, I feel like the confidence just went through the roof once I became a certified master groomer, because I'm a fucking master groomer. You know?
Even when I first certified, like when I got my first certification, it was like, I am a certified terrier. I don't even know what I certified first. It
You
might have
did
been
terrier and non-sporting.
Yeah.
Well, half of terrier.
Yeah, okay. So non-sporting, I think, was the first.
Yeah, yeah.
And I certified with the Bashan. It was pretty nice.
But I agree with you on that. It makes you feel confident because you're not just like, I'm a dog groomer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you're like, I'm a certified master dog groomer. So the thing that the things that I say hold a lot of value, and you can charge more. I know some people are like, no, you can't. Yes, you can.
You can.
Yeah, you just have to really advocate for yourself.
Especially if you're the only one in the area.
Well, when people go like, well, why should I go to your salon over somebody else's salon? Unparalleled experience and education, right? Because like, no matter what, nobody can take that away from you. I am a certified master groomer. I have the education and the testing to back myself up for safety, for experience, for all of it. And it's really not that hard.
No. I think people
It is hard. Don't get me wrong. It's not like
I think
you
it's-
can just be grooming for 1 year and do it. But
I think it's more intimidating
Yes.
than hard.
Yeah.
Because you kind of, I mean, you start somewhere and then you just build on it. So
Right, yeah.
you're learning as you go. So
well, like if you fail the first time, what do you get? A great critique. You go to another seminar and you try again. And you keep practicing and you keep learning and you keep doing more until you get it. So it's really not like, it's not the most difficult thing. It really isn't.
I honestly tell people, just go to a seminar. At least for the NDGAA, that is what I
just start at a
certified with.
seminar.
Just go to the seminar and just check it out. And I guarantee you'll love it. Whether it be you just meeting people of like mind, or and most people there are going to be scared shitless too, especially if it's their first time, because I was shitting bricks. But, after you do the first test, you know what? It's such a relief. And all of a sudden you feel like, you know what? I can do this. I'm a fucking badass, right? Like, I know how to do a schnauzer properly, or whatever the dog you choose is. And there's not, for the NDGAA, there's not like any dog. There's a certain amount of dogs, and they cover the gamut of size and shape. And so a lot of times it's not as hard as people think to find a dog to certify with them.
Yeah.
I would say that brings up another interesting thing, because a lot of people say like, I can't find a dog to certify with. Totally understandable, right? Because it can be hard to not only find a dog of enough quality, but then getting the practice in, getting maybe a pet parent to loan you the dog to go somewhere. But like where we did our testing, Ann Martin was helpful. So if we were like, hey, I need help finding this, she would reach out to like breeders in the area, or if she had a client, she's losing out on that money then, right? And she would ask them to come in anyways, because it matters. We care a lot about it. She cared a lot about people certifying and doing a good job, so she was willing to do that. Or like help you find somebody to let you use that dog. So I do think if you ask.
Or use a blind deaf dog like me. It was your only option.
In that turn, you don't have to use a dog that is perfect, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because part of the test is showing the skill you have to make that dog look. Close enough to the standard
Yeah.
for the illusion that the dog is perfect. Right?
Absolutely. Good point.
I feel
People
like that's
do think
almost more impressive too. It's
Yeah.
like, this is what is wrong and this is how I fixed it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I agree. It definitely.
That's the
People think it has to be a show dog. It definitely
No.
does not have to be a show dog. It can be a pet quality dog that you're just showing, the standard and how to hide things.
that
Absolutely.
is definitely like the next tier of understanding. First, you understand like how to put the trim on,
A
and
nice
then
dog.
you understand how. Yeah, it's easy to put a nice trim on a
nice
beautiful
dog,
dog.
yeah.
I got this dog Kachi, she's a Kerry Blue, and I groom her in competitions, and people go, "Oh my God, how did you get her to look so beautiful?" It is so easy to put a trim on this dog. I basically just trim her to like a certain length all over, because all the places, all the muscles, all the shapes are right underneath the dog. So it's just easy, it just comes together.
Okay, Nathan says that, but I definitely could not groom that dog.
Me-
I could
me
not make
neither.
that dog look the
But
way that
then
Nathan makes it
Be
look.
able to make another Kerry Blue that may not be put together the same, look similar, takes way more skill than
It's harder work, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But as a as like an educator now, I usually tell people that's like the best place to start, right? So just start looking into the NDGAA.
Well,
Or
okay, so there
whatever-
are,
whatever,
that leads us into our next thing, right? Because there are lots of different types of certification now, right? So there is the NDGAA, there's IPG, there's the AKC Master Groomer
Oh, but I'm
certification,
just like-
ISCC.
To clarify, I'm not a NDGAA educator. I just mean as someone who is now educating.
Yes, although you are an Andis educator.
I am an Andis educator. Thanks,
And
Andis.
maybe more later. We'll see.
But yeah,
And a Katie and Nathan educator.
yes.
Yeah, well, you educate our apprentices,
True.
and occasionally we educate
Which is
each
really
other,
fun.
too.
I like having apprentices to like give my knowledge to, you know.
That's true. I'm gonna force Kat to teach Nathan how to do the Bashan soon.
I've been trying.
No, I mean, to be fair, he did, like he said, he did certify with the Bashan, but he's just a little bit rusty. So Kat needs to touch him up because now that she does such a good job on her show dogs.
Yeah, it's honestly, it makes me very happy. I'm very happy for you, Kat, that you're like doing so well. I remember when you started, you're like, oh, I don't know, but now look at you, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I was one of those people who was like totally against certifying. I was happy being a groomer, but Katie and Nathan pushed me in, and now look where it's led.
Now look.
Do you regret it?
No, not at all.
Now look at her. She's a best in show owner handled twice winner.
Yeah, so like anybody can do it. Like don't think that you can't. You know, like if you're listening to this and you're like, if you're just shrugging this off and this episode kind of sucks to you because you don't think you can do it, you can do it.
You can do
Also,
it.
too, if you're doubting yourself, you could also like DM me or Kate or any one of us, right?
Yeah,
Like
we're
I get people
all-
messaging me and DMing me all the time asking
Yeah.
about how to educate or how to continue myself. Message me
We're all
or
happy to
Katie
help.
or any one of
help
us,
you find
and we'll
a
be
mentor.
happy to help you.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of it is just having confidence in yourself, which is something I lack, and which is one of the reasons I didn't want to do it, was because I was like, I'm not good enough, right? So why even try?
Yeah, you're
And-
so good though. She's like literally a
She's very
fantastic groomer.
underconfident, very humble. I think we talked about that in the first episode.
And
She definitely-
everybody that's good, I think, is realistic and think that they suck at the beginning, right? Like,
I think
if you're going
not even
into
just
it-
in the beginning.
I
I
still
mean, how
suck.
often do you look at your grooms afterwards and you're like so happy, and then like you start to look at it more, the longer you look at it, you're like, oh,
Or you take a
no.
picture.
Or you
But
take
you
a
know when
picture.
groomers- but you know when there's like a green groomer and they're like, I'm the shit, and you're like, no. All the
They just
best
don't have the
groomers,
eyes
all the
yet.
best groomers have like you can see it. You know, like I'm something I'm working on. I'm building myself
Well,
up
because you
brick
can
by brick,
always
right?
improve. Always, always. I would never be under the impression that half the time I'm in the competition ring on working on my Scotty going like, who the hell put you in charge of like the Scottish Terrier Club of the San Francisco Bay? Like, I'm the vice president, and I'm like, who? Like I bred a litter. Who said you could do this? You are terrible. Look at you. You cannot even groom this dog. Who are you?
And then just count, yeah. just
And
count.
then by the end, I'm like, okay, you did okay. It came together. We did okay. Maybe I'm okay. You know, I mean, I'm still picking it apart, but I'm like, all right, I'm okay. I did it.
Yeah, I forget everything when I go in. I was like, what am I doing here? Why?
That's why I quit.
Why?
So I think for people that don't know, right, I think we should go into a little bit of what the process is, right? Like what's the, because I know it's different. I know the NDGAA. I think you did IPG, right? And you're also
IPG.
doing a third one. I think we touched on it in a later
ISCC,
episode. I
yeah.
think, but for people that don't know,
Well,
let's start with the NDG, right?
Because we all did the NDGAA.
And
That's
that's
where
how we
we
met.
met.
That's how we met. But just as like a very quick rundown, I do believe you have to do one seminar at least, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have attended at least one seminar. You do have to take a non-sporting practical, which would be the Bashan or the Poodle. And the Poodle, there are like, I think you can do pretty much any haircut, right?
Yes.
I think any acceptable or any.
Anything you could compete with, I believe.
Yeah.
And Bashan obviously has to be Bashan cut.
Do they mind if there's color on the dog? I don't think so.
It has to be minimal.
Minimal. Like less
I think it's
10% or
literally
something.
the same as if you did a competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you've got your terrier, your long-legged, your short-legged. Those are fairly obvious. You don't have to hand strip.
Most people can find them pretty easily.
Yeah, and I mean, since you don't have to hand strip, I do think that leaves you with a lot of options. But then, so then, like long-legged, you could do like your Kerry or your Wheaton or your Airedales or your Schnauzers, your Welshes. Lots of options there.
Yeah.
Short-legged, I know you can do like Westie, Scotty. Although I feel like I read something about like, because like your Karens and your Norfolks and
Those
your
have to be
Norwich,
stripped.
do they have? But
Yeah.
can you do them?
You can,
Because
but
they don't really
to be
have a
stripped.
pattern.
Yeah, it's not a necessary pattern, but
But I think it's something you can't really replicate with scissors and clippers, so
Right.
it has to be
It has
stripped.
to be stripped. Okay. I mean, well, also it's been a few years, so I don't know since AKC took over if any rules have changed. So so everybody knows, we could potentially be out of date.
If people like, I'm sure
You
well,
can look it up. You can ask instructors.
and Blake's an instructor, so you guys can like message him if you have.
He's
any-
always happy to answer questions,
Yeah.
for sure. Then you've got your sporting,
Yep.
your sporting dogs, and same thing. You don't have to card them. It can be a clipper cut as long as you're replicating the groom.
yes.
And that, like your American cockers, your English cockers, your springers, your setters. I don't think you can do like a golden, to my knowledge.
I think you used to be able to.
Really?
Yeah,
That
you used
would
to be able
cool.
to groom Goldens
Well,
in
they have a
competitions.
they have a lot of trimming. A lot of work goes
People
into
don't
those
know that.
dogs.
Recently, I was at the dog show and I was talking to Nancy Hahn. She is an NDGAA certifier.
She was.
And she told
retired.
me, I'm sitting there ringside watching the terrier group, and a fox terrier goes by, and I go, "Wow, look at this fox terrier! It's
a smooth.
freaking gorgeous." And I go, it looks so chiseled, right? And then she looks at me and goes, "Do you know how much grooming there is on that?" And I didn't realize that
Yeah.
how much grooming went into a smooth coat fox. She says it's the same pattern as the wire, just you're scissoring it. You're doing. She told me that somebody won first place at Hershey years ago, a best in show at Hershey with a smooth fox.
I would love to find that photo. If anybody
Yeah.
has that photo or knows who did it or whatever,
unbelievable.
I
She
want to
kind
see.
of like, wow, I didn't know. But I don't know when that was. Probably
Yeah.
in the early 2000s or 90s or so.
I want to see though.
Well,
So
there's
if
this-
somebody can dig up that information for me, please do.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of dogs that I thought they just got a bath and went to the ring, but no. Pugs,
Yeah, beagles.
beagles.
I was
Yeah.
like, beagles? What the hell?
Yeah, we
But
have a friend that shaves beagles, and she goes, "Oh, I'm shaving in spring necks," or something like that, or for springtime neck shaving. And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, we're
there's so much to so many different breeds.
It's
like,
wild, yeah. Back to the NDGAA, right? So each of those sporting, non-sporting, and terrier come with 100 question tests. True, false, multiple choice, match the breed, etc., etc. They do try and trick you. I don't know if they changed it. Lots
Oh,
of coulda,
may.
woulda. Yeah, can you?
You can.
Should you?
I remember there was like, "Can you shave a chow?"
You
And it's
can.
like, well, you
Should
can.
you? Probably not. We're not telling answers to anything else.
Well,
It's not like we
it
kept a
could have
complete cheat
changed.
sheet or
It
nothing.
could, it absolutely could have changed. Like we said, we haven't. I think we've all been master certified for like at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Nathan Moore, but
That's not that bad though. I thought you were gonna say like 10 years, and I was getting ready to hit you with the "don't age me," but 3 years was okay.
well, I think for you it's like 5 years. Anyway,
Old.
and then so you do have to have an average of 85%, and then
On
there's
both. On both the technical and, right?
Yeah, all together for everything.
Okay.
You have to have an average of 85%. And then there's one last 400 question test that covers all the other categories, all the they used to do cats and pesticides. Like I said, I don't know if they still have that in there or if they've changed it. And structure and like all of that stuff and 400 more
Bones,
questions. If you pass everything with 85%, certified master groomer. Ta-da.
The highest score I got was a 97.2 or something like that.
It was a 98.
So
I
I
got
want
a
to know if
98
anybody,
too.
if anybody
got a
else got a
98.
higher score than that, like message us your high score because
Yeah, we'll tell everybody.
Because booyah. you
Yeah.
know?
What was your lowest score?
My lowest score.
It was no, his lowest
Shush.
one was well because
It wasn't
Did we
passing,
talk
you
about
know?
that? I don't even know if we talked about. Maybe we'll do that in another episode.
My lowest score, you have to know. Katie has all my
It
stuff
was.
memorized.
I think it was like 78 or 82.
I bombed
It was
it.
between 78 and 82, I think.
It was
But
either the Schnauzer or
My
the,
Schnauzer was my lowest. It was in the 70s.
My
too.
Schnauzer was my lowest.
my Schnauzer was. I do believe it was in its lowest, but I used number one. I used a standard Schnauzer, which I didn't know the breed standard as well as like the miniature, and
Yeah.
I hand stripped it, and I was like. I had only been hand stripping for like 6 months at this point. And for some reason I was like, I'm going to hand strip because I wanted one of my tests to be hand stripped just so I could say I did it.
Well,
right?
also, we had dogs lined up that
did.
canceled last minute. So
We had wire fox
both of
terriers,
us,
yeah.
both of us were training on wire foxes. And then all of a sudden we lost those dogs and we had these new dogs
pulled,
that
yeah.
Ann had gotten us. And
So
I
we met
did
them same day.
Same day, yep.
I didn't know the standard Schnauzer as well, the haircut. And like I said, I had only been hand stripping for like 6 months, but I wanted to do it. So I could say I did one.
I'm like about to say something that'll probably confuse a lot of people, but I like bombed it because I didn't cholesterol my Schnauzer's legs. So if you know what that means, like hurrah.
Oh, well,
Good
okay.
for you.
I still
because
don't
a
know
lot
what
of-
that means.
So I didn't cholesterol and chalk its legs, and I didn't get the inverted baseball bat shape of the
Yeah.
legs.
Well, no, okay, but see, we didn't. That I
We
feel
didn't know.
like you have to go somewhat deeper into that, right? So why don't you tell everybody because you were the first of us to certify.
Okay, so I went to certifications.
We thought Nathan
thinking
was
I'm
going to do
fucking
great.
tight, you know, thinking, I did a decent Schnauzer. Like it wasn't hulaed, but I still left the skirt a little higher. Too
Oh,
much.
we thought Nathan was like, number one, he was a great groomer considering, but we were like, he's the best in our salon. So we're going to send him because he's so talented and he's going to knock it out and tell us how easy it was. And we had we hadn't done any continued education at this point, right?
Nope.
And so like, he's just going in with our old PetSmart stuff. Like,
And
he's going to kill it.
yeah, so we show up and there's Ann Martin, and she's like, being in her presence and listening to her speak and listening to her talk about dogs, she's very, very driven and passionate about it. And I don't know if you ever listen to somebody that's truly passionate about something, it really motivates you, you know? So just listening to her and listening to Nancy talk about these things, it really lights the fire under you. So that's another reason why I think people should just go listen to somebody who's really passionate about dogs talk about dogs. It's invigorating.
warning, she may want you might want a standard poodle.
Yeah,
after
she
you
starts
leave.
going. She starts swinging her arms like this and goes, "Have you ever seen a poodle in motion? And it looks like a stallion, well, in its gait." And like
Beautiful
as she's saying it, I'm like,
carriage and-
"Oh my god, I got to buy a standard poodle now." So I have two now. Be careful. So
One
we go-
from Ann.
Yeah, one from Ann. They're both gorgeous
To
dogs.
be fair, we had the other one already, but
but
we
she-
wanted another.
So she grooms this Schnauzer, and I'm like, holy fuck, I don't actually know how to groom a Schnauzer. So she starts saying like, oh, you know all these points that you learned? That's actually wrong because on every dog, the different points are in different areas. You put the pattern on to the dog.
It's not always a thumb length.
Yeah, it's not a
yeah.
thumb length.
So we
It's
all have
on-
the same thumbs,
and
right?
it's not always the whisker nodule. Sometimes you have to move it forward or back a little bit. And then she's cholesterol. She gets this cholesterol. Okay, so cholesterol is like kind of like imagine like putting a bunch of lotion in your hand, and then you're rubbing it in the dog's legs,
Similar,
and then
yeah.
you put chalk in there, and it helps the chalk stick, and then it gives the hair texture
and
with-
volume and
so you can brush it out and get it to have that volume. That's how you see those Schnauzers with those really poofy legs. And then you scissor it, and it's wider at the base. You can expose the nails really tight to the nail, straight up, cylinder leg, and it kind of tapers into the elbow.
I'm sorry.
And so that was like way over my head. So I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna do that, and I'm just gonna like brush it up a little bit and then scissor it.
I mean,
She-
to be fair, you probably shouldn't have,
I
just
didn't
because
know how
you
to do
didn't
it.
know how to do it. And I will tell everybody, if you are like at a competition or a test or something like that, and somebody gives you like a hint beforehand that you have never done before, probably don't do it
Don't do it.
because
Well, also-
you shouldn't just like attempt to do new things without trying it and practicing it beforehand.
And in all actuality, I was really scared of Ann. I really like Ann and Nancy, because Nancy's this huge terrier person, so I didn't want to seem stupid in front of them. When in all actuality, I should have just said, hey, I don't know how to do that. Could you show me? Because the day before you do that seminar, and they would have absolutely showed me how to do it, because that's what they're there to do, right? They're not there to embarrass you. They're there to uplift you.
Right, yeah.
So I just thought, I'm just not going to do it, and I'll just see what happens. And I bombed, of course. I got a passing to where
I was going to say you got a passing grade. I wouldn't say you bombed. But it just wasn't the 85% average.
And she told me exactly why. She's like, well, look at these legs. She brushed the legs, and they're all outside. And oddly enough, schnauzers, you should see, like, schnauzer. There's people out there that will die on the hill of schnauzers looking so wonky, and they're just so right, you know? Like, I got in... I try so hard not to get into it on social media, but people are like so wrong about schnauzers a lot of time, and they're so sure of themselves about that they're right, you know. But they're all different, right? The giant, the standard, and the mini, they're all different.
Long story.
Yeah, it's
Long story long.
it's the ADHD, right? So I did it. And I came home and I told Katie and I told
did the
Kat,
Bashan too that time.
Yeah.
That was a lower score.
And I
too.
learned the bell head, and it was wrong, very wrong. And I came home and I told him, hey guys, guess what? I suck, actually.
And it was a lot harder than I thought.
And it's a lot harder than so I just came back and I scared him. So actually, if you're listening to this, I said it's really hard and scary then, but
in
retrospect.
But you have to take into consideration, while you didn't get the 85% average for those two specific tests that would have made you a certified master groomer, you still got a passing score to be certified in non-sporting off of knowing the wrong pattern and just watching and do the proper haircut and trying to mimic it the best you could the next day, which is, so that just for anybody who's worried about it, right? If you're like, I don't know, I mean, that was just off the seat of your pants with not any, you know what I mean? So it's possible. You can do it. And you made up for it with higher scores in other categories.
Even though not going and showing up, you still get to oftentimes see the teacher do that haircut. Mm-hmm. So then you could just replicate it, right? You don't just show up and do the haircut you think the way it should be. I mean, you can do it like that, but I'd say for the NDG, go ahead of time and try to do the seminar.
Mm-hmm. But also, I feel like when we were doing it, it was more, we were learning by book and like self-study kind of thing. And I feel there's so much more opportunity now out there with, the internet, basically. All these courses online and stuff. And I've learned so much because you can watch it in detail, because I'm more of a visual learner.
Right.
And it's so much easier for me to learn that way than reading and studying a book, right?
Yeah, fucking shout out Groom House, like...
Yep.
I'm on there all the time.
There's just so many. I agree with you, right? Because not everybody has the money to travel to trade shows. Not everybody can go to a seminar maybe in the beginning without testing first, and maybe they don't want to do testing until they've learned a little bit more. So there are a lot of really great options now online where you can learn things for a good price.
I watched Jay and Sue's Springer and Poodle over and over and over and over and over again before my certification.
And also, if you are doing a purebred dog and you want a critique on it, send it to us. I'm happy to critique dogs.
The best we can.
To the best of our ability.
The best we can.
I like
online.
to tell you how wrong you are.
I can critique a dog into a
right.
passing certification for sure. You know?
Well, so what about IPG, since that was one of your certifications?
Yeah, so I am certified through the IPG as a master groomer, and it's a little different. So there's 3 tracks. Track 1, you have to do them in order to get to the master. So track 1 is a certified professional groomer, and there's 2 writtens and 2 practicals. One is just a safety, washing and drying a dog, showing that you know how to do it, and then just an all-over haircut. Simple. What they're worried about there, or what they're looking for, is just safety and nice handling, a nice haircut, but you don't have to do much of anything else just to show that you are just a certified groomer, right? Because you don't have to know breed cuts and everything to be a good groomer.
Yeah.
So then after you do that one, it's track 2, and it's an advanced certified groomer. And with that one, it's also 2 writtens and 2 practicals. One is handling a toy dog or a senior dog. And with that haircut, it has to be 2 different lengths. So fuller legs, and you have to show angulation and, that kind of stuff. And then, and a double coat. So you can see that you can, brush things out and blah, 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 blah. And then the track 3 is the master certification.
Yeah.
And the practicals are the same. So the non-sporting, terrier, sporting. They actually have a mixed breed one. So that's all the there's like a doodle section, cockapoos and stuff. And then after you do those 4, then you take the master certification. And it's all the same. It's the same test, 100 questions, multiple choice.
What are they expecting of you amongst the mixed breed stuff?
They send you when you get your packet, they have like a little section that's kind of like the AKC book for the breeds, but it's for the mixed breed. So it just tells you like, it goes over like the doodles and like how it should be this height and this weight. It kind of mirrors the purebred dogs, but obviously it tweaks it a little bit because it's a mixed one.
I don't think I could pass that one. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Like I don't do doodles all day, every day.
I think I don't remember if the mixed one's also a practical or if it's just a written. I think it might be just a written.
Oh,
To
interesting.
be honest.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then you become an international certified master groomer
Nice.
with IPG. And it's a little different with the NDGAA. You had to do it in person, right? I don't know if it's like that now.
Yeah.
And the IPG, you're actually able to do it from home. So the testing, you'd take it from home and you actually mail it in or you email it in. And then for the practicals, you can do it on Zoom now. So it's really nice. They do Zoom certifications once a month. And they're certifiers from all over the world because it's international. So when I was doing my certification, like Victor was in Puerto Rico, and then we had Kitty from the UK, and then there was like an Australian certifier, and it was like really cool to like. And then they all critique you too. So
nice.
so then you groom. You have the camera on you the whole time when you're grooming, and then after they're like, okay, now move the camera, and I want to see this, and so then you go and you like go really close to the dog, and they kind of they make you show them everything
that was
and
something
like
I
brush.
wondered. Yeah, like brush
they're
it.
like comb it out and brush it out, and then
That was something I wondered about, right? Like how much you can really know, like if the dog is symmetrical or if you missed things, or so it's good to know that they have you like do all of that, and it's like live all the way through, right? So it's not like you can cut it and like pause, and then somebody else comes in and grooms the dog, and then you like start it.
So on that note, are you timed?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it is the same time thing, 2 hours.
How
for each one.
how long did it take you to do the IPG? It took me 3 years to do the NDGAA. Some people can knock it out in 1 year or one session, but it took me 3.
I think the IPG took me about 6 months.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, from
nice.
start to finish, just because it was at your own pace, from home. So I was like doing
Well,
it.
how long did NDG take you guys?
It took me a year.
They had
God.
two. Well, they had two.
Yeah,
to be fair,
yeah.
when we started, it was once a year, and when Kat did it, they did 2 in 1 year.
And I also
yeah.
had fearless leaders who led me through and helped me find dogs.
I think I was probably like 2 years.
We own most of the dogs by
we
then.
owned most. We owned most of the dogs, so we loaned, and we still are happy to like loan dogs out to
took
people.
you how long?
2 years, I think.
Nice.
But it's something I was gonna say, since you mentioned the Zoom, I do believe that the NDGAA and the AKC do their testing now at trade shows where they didn't when we were doing it. So that is very nice. Like if you are going to compete, you can use your same dog, and that way you're not like having to find a different dog, or like, oh no, now I can't do this competition because testing's there's a seminar 4 weeks later and it won't have enough coat or
I think
whatever.
you just tell them before you start, like, I have a dog I want to certify
and they'll come
with.
and check over your dog before.
That
and then after.
makes it so much easier.
But we should also add that at grooming shows, you don't have to groom a dog on stage.
Right, if
You
you're
can-
not competing.
if you're not competing and you don't feel comfortable competing, you can also do it. They have a back room you can do it in.
Yes.
But
Well, I
compete
don't
also.
know. I
Why
have,
not?
Yeah.
I have seen like people complain about it online that they don't always have a back room anymore, and sometimes you have to do it on the trade show floor where it's like loud and like a lot is happening.
Distracting.
Just so everybody knows, like I don't know that if that's something they'll be changing or if that's the way it's always going to be, but I have seen people post about that, about shows like, I had to do it on the trade show floor, so it was very distracting. And people like thought I was like, like you're like on the trade show floor trying to do your test and people are trying to ask you questions like you're teaching and you're like, bro, no, I'm trying to test, leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's, something else too that I remembered is everybody that I know that ever had started the certification process has succeeded.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't
that's
think I
true.
know anybody that has started and been like, it's too hard, I'm not doing good, and then stop doing it. I think as long as you decide I'm going to do it, everybody has the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And they'll help you through it. If you don't make it the first time or the second time or the third time, it's not like they're like, you can't come back.
Well, you know what's on the test already. You already
Yeah.
took the test, so you're like, okay.
Everybody's happy to like help and
growing.
uplift, and like, you know, maybe it's like getting a different dog, or maybe you know, everybody's willing to help.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to sound like an asshole right now, but I actually really don't like it when people say they're a master groomer when they're not.
Yes.
And I don't want to like
belittle anybody.
belittle anybody, but I feel, for one, I think the term a lot of time is copyrighted, right?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
So it is illegal in some aspects, but also like everyone that has done it has worked really hard and put a lot of time and effort to be able to have that in their name, right? Master Groomer. And I think when people just like pick that up because they think they deserve it, and they may like have
may
the experience
definitely
and they may be
deserve
talented
it.
enough, they probably are, but
Just go
when
do
they
the
just
testing.
when they
then.
just take it on without any proof or anything, it to me it takes away from the people that have done it.
Yeah. New values.
I was
devalues it. Yeah.
I was reading online that someone said that they were grooming for over 10 years. So in turn, they're a master groomer. That does not mean you're a master groomer.
Yep.
Well, there is
it's all
some
about
people.
it's a lot about the quality too, right? Because I've heard some people say like you could have been grooming for 10 years, but each year was like your first time grooming because you weren't educating, you weren't growing. So like 10 years of 1 year.
And also, you know, they say
that makes sense.
Yeah.
anybody can like master a field with a X amount of hours, right? They say about 10,000 hours, and you should have mastered whatever it is you're doing. I throw that right out the window because I know plenty of groomers that have been grooming more than 10,000 hours that can't groom a proper breed trim on any dog.
Yeah.
Well,
So to me, that automatically goes right out the window, right?
Continue.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I've been grooming for 16 years, right? But I feel like I've been like grooming maybe for like 5.
Right.
You know, I
Same.
feel like my first 10 years didn't really count.
Yeah.
Right.
Same.
Well, so
Well,
I
at least
think,
in that aspect,
I
right?
think,
Right.
yeah, I wouldn't say it doesn't count, right? Because like I think we were all good groomers. We were good pet groomers, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. We were great pet groomers, but I wouldn't have considered myself a master because I could not do those things. I could not like hand strip. I couldn't card anything. I couldn't put a proper breed trim on. And those things are what make you, I think, a master, is if you can take any dog that comes in and do its proper grooming. And if I can't do the proper grooming, then why am I a master? And not to say, I mean, I can't say that I can do any breed cuts, so please don't. But I have a very good understanding, and I can look at breed standards and figure out what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I could not have done that before. And I agree with you. I've been grooming for 16 years, but I really feel like only in the past 4 or 5 years have I actually started to
Be able to interpret.
be able to master what I was doing.
And I think if you are someone that says like I'm a master groomer and you're not certified in any way, I'm not trying to belittle you, but I'm trying to challenge you.
Yeah, we're trying to say like,
You know,
go do
if
it.
you think you have that in you, I'm sure you do. I don't doubt it at all.
And we want
because-
you to like go out there and succeed and be a certified master
Yeah,
groomer.
and I don't want to like hold you down or anything. I actually want you. I think every groomer should be master certifying, and I think every groomer should not be pushing each other down, but we should be lifting each other up.
Yes.
Because the more we lift each other up, the more we lift ourselves up,
Yes.
right? As an industry.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I agree with you because I love my career. It's like very much what I was meant to do, I think. And I want us to be, I don't want, when you tell people like, I'm a dog groomer and they go like, oh, okay, what are you going to do later?
Fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, have fun. I don't want that. I want, I'm like, I'm a certified master groomer. And they're like, wow, how incredible is that?
And,
That's what I
and
want for
telling-
everybody.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're a certified master groomer.
And when
wow.
when you certify and become a master groomer, like for real, it's so not. It just feels so good to say
It's
I
very
am a
meaningful.
master groomer. And you know when you see when you're in a crowd of baby groomers or green groomers, you're like, hey, I'm a master groomer. They're like, oh my god. You know, I mean, maybe not, but you think that in your mind,
I was
right?
like that before I
Yeah.
was master groomer. I was like, oh my God, they're master groomers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
you could put an acronym behind your name.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I mean, over the years, even when I was at PetSmart, I met people who just like haphazardly threw like master groomer over their things. And then it really like at that point, because I didn't know as much, I was like, oh, like we had hired somebody who was like, I'm a master groomer. And
You're like, through what organization?
it was not, and at that time I didn't know very much. So I was like, oh my God, master groomer. And then like,
Have you,
and he wasn't certified, and it was really bad.
have you,
And so then that let where I was like, oh, it doesn't mean that much. But then later, once I really got into it and I got to know more people, I was like, okay, so that was just somebody who was just saying that.
have you ever worked with somebody that was like a compulsive liar? Have you ever been around someone who's a compulsive? I've known 2 in my life, and the way they can like just make shit up on the fly. Like when I was
And
a
they
kid,
believe
we
it,
knew
though.
one.
They
believe it.
When I was a kid, I knew one. When in high school, he would be like, "Oh yeah, my house has this and that, and I have all these video games and all this." And I was homeless at the time, right? So I was like, "This guy is fucking so cool." And one day he invited me over his house, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this rich kid's taking me to his house." I get to his house. His house is a hoarder house.
Oh.
He didn't
Maybe
have
he
nothing.
did have all those things, but it
No,
was
but-
hidden.
So he brought me to
hidden
his
in the
house.
garbage.
He's been lying to
guy.
me for about the whole year, and then I get to his house, and it's a hoarder house, and he acts like nothing happened. It was almost as if like everything he was saying was just like he believed it, and when we get there, like it's no big deal that none of it was real. Of course, I played it off because I
Yeah.
was fucking sleeping in a car, so it's like this is better than
This is a house.
Yes, but I mean, it just made me think like, wow, there's people like this in the world that just like
Yeah.
say shit, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an adapting skill. You know.
Yeah, obviously he was hurting, and like he was a good guy though. you
For
know?
that one, the other one
Yeah.
we met, I don't know what his problem was, but anyway. So what about ISCC? That's your newest venture.
Yes, I'm about a third through the ISCC, and it stands for the International Society of Canine Cosmetology. And this is also, it's a 2-step program. The first program, or the first part of it, is you become a pet care dermatech. And so for the studying for that, it's like it goes into like the microscopic level of like the hair science, and then like the chemicals and like the different conditioners, and you learn about like case studies, and it's like, okay, this dog has this kind of rash and is this coloring and oiling. What would you do to help this case?
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
so you
Nice.
get to really you have to like think about it. So
More
that's
of the science.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
yeah, because I mean the other 2 were like breed standard and haircut and stuff, but with the ISCC, it's way more in depth with the science.
I would like to start doing ISCC
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
when I find time in my busy schedule. But it sounds like you're learning a lot.
I'm learning a lot. The binder is literally like 4 inches thick. It's like huge.
And do they have the audio version?
On the website, I did see they had CDs. So
Yeah,
I don't know
anybody-
if those
if
are still
anybody-
around.
I can't do audio, but for everybody else,
Yeah.
I know like Nathan
I have
and
trouble
Kat need
absorbing.
audio. I need to visually see words.
Well, I actually made my own audio. So so as I'm reading, I'm recording myself reading the text, and then I listen to myself reading it while I'm like grooming.
I
and
did
stuff.
Okay,
that.
so you'll
I did
just
that.
send them to us when we start.
Oh my god! This is if I did that shit. This is what I would hear. And Dermot. I would.
If
Katie
you
would have
did
to read
your
that for
own
me.
reading audio,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be terrible.
it would, yeah.
Oh my god! It just gave me chill. Like thinking about when the teacher would be like, "Hey, it's your turn to read aloud." I'd be like,
I was
"Oh,
always like
no.
this. I was always like, me, my turn. Can
Please,
I go now?
no. I'm just gonna freaking kill myself right now.
Well, this one's really cool because the first part of it's 12 written tests, and each test is
God.
like a chapter or 2 of the book.
Oh.
So you actually like feel
Segment.
accomplished as you do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, one more test, and you can, it's really
Yeah.
nice.
Instead
So-
of just like 100 random questions, and
Right.
you have no clue what's going to be on the test, and you study all the wrong things.
I've been
Yes.
thinking about doing it a lot and saying I want to do it, but if anybody out there wants to make like a pact with me and doing it, and you do some other certification or this one, I'll make a pact with you. Or
Well, I'll
bet
join
or
because I'm not
something,
done
you know
with
what I
it,
mean?
so I will be a part of the
Because
pack.
I want to do that. I want to do that. It seems like I'm preaching.
Well, and I think Scott is one of the so Scott, I mean, come on now, you want to certify us, right, Scott?
Yeah, Scott.
yeah, maybe we could have Scott on. Scott, are you
Yeah,
listening to
Scott,
this?
are you
watching?
listening?
I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he is too.
I actually really like Scott. Scott is such a good guy. I hope.
No,
I
he
hope
is.
he.
I
We're
met
talking
I
about
do.
Scott-
We do
Scott
love Scott.
Scott Wasserman.
Scott
yeah.
Wasserman, yes. No, we do love him. He's
I-
a terrier guy too.
So
Yeah.
when I first met him, I had gotten his book, right? Of you, the Art of Hand Stripping. Anyone
Great
out
book,
there?
by the way.
Very
I'm
good book.
dyslexic. I have ADHD. I have a very hard time reading. And I picked up that book and I was really nervous, but I was surprised how thin it was. It's a small book, but I read that whole book. That's the first book I read from beginning to end, I think, in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to
can
thank
attest
you,
to
Scott,
that.
because you've made something I think that is very accessible to a lot of people. And thank you,
And
because I
engaging.
found that book I just loved it. You know, I recommend it to everybody. So thank you. If you're out there looking for a hand strip book, like it's easy. Scott's book
It
is
doesn't
great.
go over like patterns and things like that, but it really is similar to the ISCC, where I feel like it goes into the science of hand stripping, why, how, what you're doing,
And techniques, some
and
like hand techniques. And
But like, I just mean it doesn't like give you patterns for all the terriers, but it goes
No.
into all of the other really important details. And I use that information all the time when I'm talking to my clients about hand stripping when they don't understand it. When they're like, why can't I just come in every 6 months for my Welsh? And I'm like, let me explain to you layers and hair anatomy and all, you know what I mean? And so I reference his book quite a lot. So it's a great book. Highly recommend.
So after you do the derm tech testing, then you start your master pet styling test, and there's 3 practicals. This is non-sporting, sporting, and terrier. But the sporting and the terrier, unlike the NDGAA, like you guys say it, or the IPG, you have to hand strip and card your sporting and
Nice.
terriers.
So it has to be more to breed
It
standard.
has to be more to breed
So
standard.
I do think that's really cool. While I did appreciate doing, having the option to do the pet styles for the NDGAA and not having to hand strip or card my dogs, I did feel like I should have to be able to show that that is something I can do to call myself a master.
Yeah, in the NDGAA and the IPG, you don't have to know how to hand strip to be considered a master groomer. I do think, you're absolutely right. I think I would feel better about it.
Well, I did. I carded my sporting dog and I hand stripped one of my terriers. So I did.
If you can't,
I
if
did
you
just
get-
say that
for-
I
for those
could,
who-
guys.
For
Kind of
those
like
who are just listening, me and Juan were both making faces.
it's one of those similar to and Kat can attest to this. To one of those like I gave birth without an epidural things. I had an epidural. Kat did not. She was
Like a badge of honor.
she was a real fucking trooper.
I went through
And-
all this I went through hours and hours of unnecessary pain.
Hey, they say
Correct.
it's better for pushing. And
Yeah,
my kid
you know
flew
what
out.
though? It was
That's
better
true,
for
yeah.
pushing because her labor was much shorter than mine. So, pros and cons. You know what I'm saying though?
Nice job, Kat.
Yeah, nice
Good
job,
job.
Kat.
Hey, I didn't get an
Hey,
epidural
forever.
when I labored over my Thanksgiving turd afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yours was solid after Thanksgiving? I had too much mac and cheese. That was not.
Where
Yeah, it was like a
where-
5-pound Tootsie Roll. So I think if anyone's
well-
out there and have questions of that stuff we missed,
well, no, we
ask
did
us.
We
miss.
forgot one.
We did
We
miss
AKC.
AKC.
oh yeah,
Well, so AKC is like one of the newest ones. It's somewhat different though, because AKC now owns NDGAA, right? So for the AKC, their starter track is the salon safety course. You can do that online. You might be able to do that in person, I assume, at trade shows because I think they do all of their stuff at trade shows. I don't think that they have like individual seminars or anything like that, as far as I know. And then theirs is a coat types test. So somewhat different where it's not necessarily, I mean, you are obviously trying to do breed standard
Yeah.
because you have your terrier,
Sporting.
your non-sporting, your sporting, but then they also have a drop coat. And so for that, you can use like a Maltese, but obviously like a Maltese breed standard would be full length
Right?
drop coat, right? And you can even use like a Wheaton. You can use a Porty with wavy coat. There's like a few different options.
I was running around all over the place
Yeah.
trying to find a drop.
That was
coat.
the hardest part was the drop coat for Nathan.
And I lucked out because they considered I did a rescue roundup and they considered my rescue dog a drop coat.
Nice.
right.
And
so
she
that's
was
what I
just
was
a
going to
little,
say. Yeah.
little mix.
I will say that's the nice thing about the AKC one because while like to an extent, like if you're doing a Scotty, they want to see breed standard, right? But I do think that means that they want like for the wire and the sporting, they do want, I believe, like hand stripping and wire because you're supposed to be showing how to prep that coat properly and how to work that coat properly. So a wire coat, it would be hand stripping, and a sporting, it would be carding. But for poodle, for the non-sporting, the Bichon and the poodle,
They consider it curly coat.
you're right. I apologize. She is absolutely correct. It's curly coat. So if you're in Rescue Roundup and you get a dog with a curly coat, it doesn't matter if it's like a mix or whatever, they count it.
And I don't know if this is the case or not, but is it like everybody that becomes a AKC Master Groomer qualifies for that award for?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, so then after you pass
The award that he won and he wants to talk about it again.
His first time.
so after you do your
I mean, that's a big deal
practicals-
going
It
up
is.
on stage. Like for people that don't do anything else, like they want a chance to like go up on stage in front of all your peers. Like it's exhilarating.
That
you know?
Well, so
might discourage.
to explain it better, it's go back because you're like jumping ahead. You're getting ahead of yourself. Then
You're
you
too
have to
excited,
you do have to answer another 50 questions that are a master test. And so then you're an AKC, or I can't remember exactly how they phrase it. I'll have to look it up for you guys because they changed it.
Because when we were doing it, they were still like in transition.
They were
and
still
things were
in
changing a
transition,
lot.
yeah. But I believe you're not an AKC Master Groomer until you also have your NCMG Master Groomer.
Oh.
Through the NDGAA.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
From what I believe, you cannot be an AKC Master Groomer without also having your NCMG through the NDGAA. So like you have to do the AKC one and the NDGAA, and then they put them together in your AKC Master Groomer. But then everybody who completes theirs throughout the year is eligible for a Barclays Honor Award, AKC Master Groomer of the Year. Everybody gets to vote on that, so your name gets to be on the ballot, and it's just you're automatically put on. And Nathan did win last year.
No, but it also is not a Barkley honor though.
It's
No,
not
it's not.
technically a Barclay Honor, I don't think, but I mean,
It's but you get to go up on the same stage and accept an award.
you don't get the Barclay Honor medallion, but you're still up there
got a
for a
cool
Barclay
plaque.
Honor. Like it's still a Barclay Honors award, I think. I think everything awarded that night
Okay,
is
if
a
you-
Barclay Honors award.
We have to go.
Somebody
we have to
tell
figure this
us.
out.
I mean, it was during the Barclay Honors Award
I
ceremony.
thought I asked
Yeah.
somebody if this counts as a
No,
Barkley
we did.
honor.
We
and they said
messaged.
no.
We messaged. I think it's Todd Shelley, right, who runs the
Barclay?
who runs
Barclay.
Barclay, and we messaged him on Facebook, and he never responded to us.
Well, you know what? I feel like I
Rude.
see
He's
him
very
all the time, but I
busy.
haven't. Like I keep not ignoring him, but like not going up to
I don't
him
think
because he
we're
makes me
friends.
nervous.
I don't think we're friends on Facebook, so Todd Shelley, like, friend us on Facebook, and we also sent you a message with a question. So it probably just went to like his filtered messages. So if you see this, or if somebody who's friends with him sees this, let him know. We're wondering if it's a Barclay Honors Award or not.
I kind of don't want it to be because like I've been nominated for a bunch, so I'd want to like still not have one yet. You know, like I have this other.
So we could
award.
win ours together for
Yes.
podcasting.
When
Well, then I could tell
Wink,
people I've
wink.
been nominated. No, I never won one yet. You know, that little bit of guilt
Yeah.
may motivate somebody to vote for me. I don't know,
or it's just funny.
or us. You know,
It's just funny.
Or us, I guess.
Yeah.
that'll do too. You know, it'll do.
It'll do. That'll do.
I did have a question. Like
Yeah.
the one he's doing, the newest one.
Yeah,
How do they do your technicals? Do you have to do them in person or is it online?
So when I spoke to Scott, he said that he would fly out
Oh.
and do it, and then while he's in town, he would hold a workshop
Oh
for just him
well, we
teaching
should
and stuff.
set
so
that
we
up for
should-
sure.
Well, let
Yeah,
me get
we
ready
gotta
for
get
my
started.
practicals.
Okay,
well, we should all get ready for our
we gotta get ready
practicals.
for
Yeah,
our
we gotta get
practicals.
it.
God
And
damn
then
it.
we
I'll
And
tell
then Scott-
Scott,
We gotta get
hey
all
Scott,
these
you
now.
can stay at our house. Wink, wink.
No, not at our
I'm
house.
My house.
He doesn't
Our
want
muddy
to. He
backyard.
doesn't want to step in dog poo.
Yeah,
At Juan's
that's the problem.
You can stay at my house and we can watch RuPaul's Drag Race the whole time.
Damn.
I see his Facebook statuses about the drag queens.
Okay, but can we all have a slumber party?
Yeah, you can sleep over too.
Okay.
Yeah, let's all come.
We love having
You do
slumber
have the
parties at
nicest
once.
sleepable house. Like
I know,
when
sleepable.
somebody says they're gonna
Sleepable.
come over my house, I'm like, oh my god.
No.
Same.
No, in general though, like Nathan is not somebody. He hates spending the night at people's houses.
Yes.
Like
I
he'll
do.
do anything to avoid it. But he slept over at Juan's house, so that's
Aw,
a huge.
I didn't know you did
compliment.
not like that.
Okay,
He
so
doesn't
there's a
like
reason
it.
why I don't want a long
He hates it.
story.
Okay.
Because just a little backstory.
Well, you can touch
is
on
when
it
me and-
another time again.
when me and my mom, or when I was homeless as a kid, we would often stay at people's homes, and it just felt like I was a stranger in somebody's home, right? So I always felt better being in a hotel because that space, like,
At least it was your
felt
space.
like my
Neutral.
space at
Yeah.
then.
My
Not like
space.
I was invading, not like I was invading somewhere else, but as a consequence, it's carried into my adulthood.
Right.
I feel like I don't belong in other people's
Uncomfortable,
homes, like
or
I'm
like
a
a
burden,
burden.
or And even though I'm not, it's just something that has been. But I didn't feel like that at your house.
A trauma you hold on to.
Not at your house either, Kat. I lived at Kat's house for a while, and I didn't feel like that.
So technically, it was your house.
I thought I was going to feel like that when we were moving in. I'm like, oh my God, I was really worried about it. But your family, well, their family is my family. Like,
Yeah.
So
We can talk about that another time too. That's a long story.
yeah.
Long.
All of our million times we've moved.
Hey, you know what though? I'm funny now though.
Thanks,
All
trauma.
the trauma. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
funny. Good
And so,
job.
if you're listening and you have questions, like I said before, message us. You know, we're happy to help. Every single one of us. I think one of our main goals is to help grow the industry as a whole. So we do not feel like you're bothering us or anything like that. Just message us, and we'll try our best to get to it.
Yeah, we don't always answer things like as quickly just because we get
But-
bogged down. Sometimes I have to read things and then unread it just because I'm like, I don't have time to like write out a paragraph, but I will get to you. I swear it. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time.
Just double text.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
double
Yeah,
dig.
that's
you
true.
you can always text me twice.
bug me. Like if I, sometimes I'll tell people like, look, I've read your message. I don't have time right now. Remind me. Don't let me
the
forget.
unread
It's
function
not.
is the best.
It's not on purpose. It's never on purpose. But
Yeah.
we lead busy lives,
Yeah.
right? So like, if you ever message and like you don't get a response or whatever, message again. Don't
Yeah.
feel bad.
So
For me, especially.
So thank you for listening. If you have topics you want us to talk about, or if you have funny stories, funny pet-parent interactions, DM us all those things. We want them all. Thank you for joining us at another grooming podcast.
Like,
And
subscribe,
like,
follow.
subscribe on
all of the
whatever.
things.
We're on everything. So if you just like put it in, we'll be there. Also in my link trees and in theirs, all that stuff will be there.
Yes.
So give us a follow.
All right,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
God damn it, now I do this all the time.
What a millennial.
Millennial peace sign.
Millennials.
I gotta pee.
Me?
I think that was good.